Hello everyone and welcome to That's What He Said. I am Sid Hansen and today we're taking a look at a 2026 GMC Terrain AT4. Now the GMC Terrain came out in the 2010 model year to replace the Pontiac Torrent. Pontiac died in 2010 and so they had to find a way to fill the void where the Torrent was. And so for the 2010 model year they came out with the Terrain, and that ran until 2017 for the first generation. They did do a facelift in 2016. And then for the 2018 model year, they started the second generation of it, which ran until 2024 with a facelift in 2022. And then this is the newest version of it, which the third generation started in 2025. And then for the 2026 model year, they introduced the AT4 trim line. So today we're going to go ahead and take a closer look at the AT4 and see what all it has to offer and give us some comparisons on some of its competitors and a little bit of history too, of course, on GMC. Now before we get started, I'd like to thank Lums GMC of McMinnville, Oregon for letting me use this Terrain AT4 today for the review. Lums has been serving the McMinnville area since 2018. And they have also been in business for over 50 years in general. They have all of the newest stock. They've got new Canyons, Yukons, they've got everything, even the Hummer EV. So if you're looking for a new GMC and you are in the McMinnville area, definitely make sure to check them out. Their service was excellent as far as helping me out with the review. They've got a full parts counter where you can get all kinds of accessories, charging stuff, whatnot, and then they've got a really nice service area. So if you need any work done, definitely go check them out. All right, so let's go ahead and start with GMC. So GMC is basically Chevy's premium offering. They've offered pretty much the same truck and SUV line for quite a while, and GMC has basically been the luxury Chevy. Especially with their Denali trims. The Denalis are the very nice, leather-appointed, really well-equipped vehicles. And as far as GMC and GM's hierarchy goes, it's slotted above Chevy, and then just below Buick, and then of course Buick itself is below Cadillac, Cadillac being the very top-end luxury trim. But GMC itself started in 1900 as the Grabowski Motor Company, which a lot of people may not have actually known. I always assumed GMC meant General Motors Corporation or something along those lines, but no, Grabowski Motor Company. Grabowski Power Wagons was another name that they kind of tried to settle on, and in 1902 they had changed it to Rapid Motor Vehicle Company and made vehicles like this. Then in 1909 it was picked up by William C. Durant, who made it a subsidiary of his General Motors company. After that, in 1911, GM formed the General Motors Truck Company, and they killed off the Rapid truck line as well as another brand they own called the Reliance Motor Car Company. Now in 1920, Chevy and GMC started platform sharing. Basically, they offered effectively the same truck line, but they kind of aimed them at different target audiences. Chevy was more just your civilian truck. If you were just somebody who needed a pickup to haul some stuff, you bought a Chevy. And then the GMC line was typically marketed towards businesses or commercial use. Now, while GMC has historically been a truck company, for a little bit, they did make a rebadged version of the El Camino called the Sprint, and that ran from 71 to 77. And then after that, they renamed it the Caballero, and that ran from 1978 until 1987. Now, while that was a car-based platform, it did have a truck bed, and so some people might be like, well, they still only basically made trucks. And actually, they did, for the Argentinian market, they made a rebadged Chevette, and that ran from 92 to 95. So technically, GMC has actually made a car. All right, so let's go ahead and talk more specifically about the Terrain. The Terrain itself comes in 3 trim levels. You have the Elevation base trim, which you can get in front-wheel drive, which starts at about $31,000, or you can get it with all-wheel drive, and at that point you're about $33,000. Then it bumps up to this, the AT4, which is right near $40,000, and then there is the top luxury trim, the Denali, and that one's about $42,500. Now with the Elevation, there actually are 2 kind of special packages, if you will. There is a black edition, which for about $1,900 gets you a completely blacked out car. You get black trim, black paint, black gloss wheels. And then there's also the Elevation Premium, which adds some of the more luxury items that the AT4 and the Denali kind of come with standard. It gives you power seats and a different wheel look as well. And it's a little more expensive. That package is rated about $2,900, somewhere in that region. Now, with all of the trim levels of the Terrain, they're going to come with a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. There are a couple differences though. With the front wheel drive Elevation model, it's going to be 175 horsepower, 184 pound-feet of torque, and it's going to have a towing capacity of 800 pounds. Then when you move to the all-wheel drive version of either the Elevation or the AT4 and Denali, which only come in all-wheel drive, you're going to be at 175 horsepower still, but 203 foot-pounds of torque. And then the towing capacity is going to increase to about 1,500 pounds, a little more capability. Now, if you're the kind of person who's interested in performance of these cars, the Terrain will be able to get you to 60 in about 8.5 seconds or so, which isn't insanely fast, of course, but it is about average for this segment. And then, you know, if you're needing to head to the drag strip and run a quarter mile, expect about 16.5 seconds at just over 80 miles an hour. Again, you know, not exactly a true drag car. And just in case you're curious how 175 horsepower sounds, take a listen. So what exactly is AT4? Well, AT4 is GMC's designation for their off-road oriented trims, and it stands for all-terrain four-wheel drive. Except this is an all-wheel drive, so it's all-terrain all-wheel drive, ATA maybe? And then, of course, it's also called the Terrain, and so it's the all-terrain Terrain? Either way though, it is the off-road model. It's got chunkier tires than the standard version. It's got red recovery hooks on the front for if you get stuck, you got something to hook onto and have somebody pull you out. And it also comes with features like hill descent control, which is basically kind of an off-road cruise control. You can set it anywhere between 1 mile an hour to 19 miles an hour. And it just kind of helps it creep down hills and hold its speed a little bit better when you're off-roading. Now, the GMC Terrain that I'm reviewing today does come with some options. You've got the convenience package, which adds power adjustments to the passenger side seat. It also gives you ventilated front seats, heated rear seats. With the technology package, that does give you the rear camera mirror, as well as rear pedestrian alert, HD surround vision, traffic sign recognition. This one also has the two-tone option, so it's got the it's Summit White, but it has the Twilight Metallic roof on it. It also comes with some cross rails. And then they did also put in the all-weather package, so you've got some nice rubberized floor mats for the front as well as for the cargo area. Now, with both the Elevation and the AT4 trim of the Terrain, you can get it in the color you see right now, which is Summit White, or you can get it in Riverstone Metallic, Sterling Metallic, Ebony Twilight Metallic, Volcanic Red Tint Coat, or Rapids Metallic. And then if you get a Denali, there are a couple of special colors like Downpour Metallic and Glacier White Tri-Coat. And then there's also some two-tone options. So if you have the car in Ebony Twilight Metallic, you can get it with a Sterling Metallic roof. And then otherwise, if you have it in any of the other color options, you can get it with an Ebony Twilight Metallic roof. Now, as far as the competition goes for the GMC Terrain, you're going to have other compact SUVs competing against it, such as the Honda CR-V, the Toyota RAV4, the Bronco Sport, and so on. There's quite a few cars in this market. This one specifically being the AT4 trim with more of the off-road focus. There are going to be more direct trim competitions from those companies. So for instance, you're going to have the Honda CR-V Trail Sport, which is new for 2026, which would be just over $40,000. You're going to have the Toyota RAV4 TRD, which is just over about $39,500. And then there's the Mazda CX-50 Turbo Meridian, which is just under $43,000. The Bronco Sport Badlands, just over $40,000. GM's own, direct competition, you have the Chevy Equinox Active, which is a little bit cheaper at $36,000. And then, of course, the Subaru Forester Wilderness, which will be right around $35,000. Now, as far as miles per gallon goes, the GMC Terrain is going to be capable of around 24 to 28 miles per gallon. The Bronco Sport's kind of coming in at the tail end of it, only 21 to 26 miles per gallon. And then the new CR-V Trail Sport, because it is a hybrid, it is going to be the best at around 33 to 38 miles to the gallon. Now, as far as price goes, the Terrain is kind of sitting right in the middle. You know, you have the Subaru Forester Wilderness Edition at that $35,000, which makes it kind of the cheapest in this segment for that off-roady sort of focus. And then at the very top, you've got that Mazda CX-50 Turbo Meridian at $43,000. And it is a little more luxury appointed. It is pretty nice, you know, material qualities, and so it runs a little bit higher overall. Now, if you're buying an AT4, there's a chance that you might be interested in actually taking it off-road. And so at that point, ground clearance starts to become a potential factor. The Terrain is kind of on the lower end of the ground clearance. You have the Chevy Equinox, which is about 8 inches of ground clearance. The GMC Terrain sits at 8.1 inches. And then at the very top of the list, pun intended, you have the Subaru Forester Wilderness, which is 9.3 inches. And so I guess if you're really planning on getting off the road and maybe, you know, jumping some curbs, 9.3 inches might be helpful. All right, so inside the GMC Terrain AT4. Now, as far as the interior goes, it's a pretty nice place to be. The seats are nice and comfortable. And taking a closer look at the seats, you can see they're this nice kind of cloth and perforated leather, and then this rubberized material on the side, and it has this nice stitching. And going up the back of the seat, it's got that same colored, it's got piping here that's in that same color. I think they call it the mahogany. And then up here on the headrest, you have AT4 stitched into them. It's, like I said, it's a pretty comfortable place to be. Now, as far as the interiors go, there are some differences in the colors and materials based on your trim level. So if you're in an elevation, you're going to have a cloth interior, and that's going to be available in a after dark theme or a Gideon gray with after dark accents. In the AT4, of course, we've got this Forest Storm with mahogany accents, is what they call it. And then if you move up to the Denali, that one's going to have the nicer leather seats, and that one's going to be available in either a light ash gray with very dark atmosphere accents, or it'll come in after dark like the Elevation, but again, nicer materials. Now, as far as the gauge cluster goes, it's a nice high resolution screen, and it offers a pretty good amount of detail. Right now on the map view, you've got the direction that you're heading, you've got the temperature outside, your mile per hour, as well as the mile per hour on the posted speed on the road you're on. And then below that, you've got your range till empty, whether you're in all-wheel drive or two-wheel drive. And then in the bottom right, you've got, you know, your park, reverse, neutral, all of that. You press the button on the steering wheel here. That'll change the screen to show you your following distance or gap adjust. And so if you want, while your cruise control is on, to be a little bit closer to the car in front of you, you can set it like that, or you can set it to leave a larger gap just in case. And then it kind of changes the display a little bit. You've got your mile per hour here with this little bar style RPM graph there. And then if we press the button on the steering wheel again, it's going to change it over to this one where your RPM gauge switches to more of an old school style dial with the speedometer in the middle. And then on the left, you have a little information screen here, which tells you the time, temperature outside, date, and that's pretty configurable too. If you go into the center screen, you can change quite a few things. For instance, if you hit the vehicle status button here, we'll go back, oops, go back here. So on this screen, this is your maintenance screen, and so you can press on this one here, which will show you your tire pressure, and if you'd like, you tap here and hit add to driver's display, and then it shows you a tire pressure monitor system right there. Makes it nice and handy to keep track of. If you don't want it there anymore, you can just hit remove from display. Say you want to do something else here, like go into gauges and you would like to see what your, let's say your oil pressure. You want to keep an eye on your oil pressure, hit add to driver's display, and once again, it switches it over to that. So it's pretty handy. You can have it monitor different things there, you know, right in your line of sight. If there's something specific that you want, you can also set it to trip information. So if you'd like to just keep track of your, you know, fuel economy, add that in there, and then that shows your average and best fuel economy. So a nice display where you can kind of configure it a bit. You can't do, like two things at once. For instance, if we switch it back to the map, you can't have it show your tire pressure and the map, so you kind of got to choose a little bit. But still, either way, it's a nice informative display. And then if you press this button here on the steering wheel, that will change your audio sources, so AM and FM. You just choose what you want by using this little thumb switch here, and then you press it in to confirm what you want. And then if you move it up and down, it will go through available radio stations, and so you can kind of seek through using that up and down switch as well. While we're already on this side, you're going to have your audio button here. You press that and you can give it voice command button. You press that and you can start giving voice commands. This switch here, if you got a phone call coming in, you can press it up to answer the phone call or down to hang up. And then you've got your heated steering wheel. That was the button for changing through the different displays. If we move over to the left here, you're going to have your cruise control buttons. So you'll have your cruise set, which pops up a little icon to let you know that you have it turned on, and then it'll show the speed that you set it at once you set a speed. And then you've also got your cruise cancel button. There is your resume and set, or if you have your cruise control on, that's going to be how you increase or decrease the speed. Again, this one was the following distance adjustment. And then you've got this button here, which is your low mode button. And so effectively when you press that, it puts it down into a low range. So if you're climbing a steep hill or you're towing something, you press that button and it helps it more easily maintain speed. Also, if you're off-roading too, you press that button. It gives you a kind of a lower range for making it a little easier to tackle rougher terrain. On the left side of the steering column, you've got your stock here, which controls your wiper functions. And so on the end here, you've got a little button that you can just lightly press, and that'll just do, like if it's slightly raining outside and you just want a quick swipe to clear the windshield, that'll do that. If you press it further in, then that and hold it, that will do your wiper washer. Over here, you're gonna have your adjustment for the front windshield, your intermittent switch. And then on this one here, that's gonna control the rear. And so if you toggle it this direction, that will spray washer fluid on the back window. And then the other way, you've got your intermittent controls are just completely on. This is also your high beam switch, and of course your turn signal switch. Please use this. On the right hand side, you're going to have your shift lever, and so if you've never done one of these or used one of these, it's a little bit unconventional, but it's pretty easy to figure out. So effectively, when you want to go into drive, you just pull it towards you and down, and that will put it in drive. If you need to go into neutral, just pull it towards you, that puts it in neutral. And then if you need to go into reverse, pull it towards you and go up for reverse. And then of course, if you want to go back into park, you just push the button on the end and that throws it back into park there. Now on the back side of the steering wheel here, you've got your shift down paddle. And then if you take a look here, you've also got these little buttons, which when you press them will toggle through your audio favorites presets. And then on the right hand side, you have your shift up paddle shifter. And then again, on the back side, you've got this little button here, which controls your volume up and down from the steering wheel. Now on the door, you're gonna have your kind of standard controls. You're gonna have your unlock and lock buttons. You're also going to have your memory controls. And so you've got 1 and 2 that you can set. And to set them, you basically just put your seat where you want it, press set, hit 1 if you're driver 1, and then that sets the position to where it is. That way, if the seat's been changed, you get back in, press 1, and everything sets back to how you like it. There's also an exit memory. So for instance, if you want to move the seat all the way back to make it easier to get in and out of the car, you would do that, and then you press set and that button there, and that sets the exit memory. Moving down here, you're going to have your window controls. So you've got, left and right, and then you've got your little dial here to make it go up and down, left and right, adjust it how you need it. You've got your window controls. All of the windows are 1 touch down. Only the driver's, though, is 1 touch up. And then moving further down here, you're going to have your button to open the rear hatch. And then you've also got a little storage pocket where you can put like a water bottle. And let's face it, probably, trash. Now moving over on the left side of the dash, you do have your electronic parking brake. You've also got a mode selection switch. Now if you press that mode button on the center screen, it's going to change to where you can see your mode that you're in. And so there's a tow haul mode. You've got your normal mode for just kind of everyday driving. Off-road for if you're just, on like a dirt road or something. Oops. You've got terrain, where if it's more aggressive kind of off-road stuff, it'll adjust it for that. And then you've also got a snow and ice mode. So definitely comes equipped with a nice amount of different drive modes based on every scenario. You've got your all-wheel drive button, which will toggle between two-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. Down below that, you have auto hold, and so that's, if you're in heavy traffic and you don't want to put it into park, you turn this on, and then when you let your foot off of the brake, it will automatically apply the brakes and hold it for you. Over here you have your auto start stop, so same thing. If you're parked at a light, it'll turn off to try to preserve fuel, and then you also have your dimmer for your gauges. Now, as far as the center screen goes, it is a 15-inch vertical display, so nice big screen, and there's a lot of stuff you can do with this. You've got this vehicle status menu where it shows you information about the car. You tap these little plus arrows, and that gives you your oil life percentage. And if you're not 100% sure what that means, you can press on that button there, and then it goes into your oil life, and it tells you, basically what it is and what percentage it's at. You can add it to that driver's display, or you can also just reset it if you just had an oil change done. And you can do that with a few different things. You can see your tire pressures. If you go down here to gauges, it's going to show you some different stuff like your coolant temperature, which will give you an explanation of, why you don't want your car to overheat. Oil pressure, stuff like that. And then you also have a trip area where it'll show you your trip information, current trip, fuel economy, and it'll give you your average as well as your best, and also instant, which is what you're doing currently. And then if we go back here to the home screen, if you press this button here, My GMC, that'll take you to a menu where it shows specifics about, if your car needs servicing, you can set up a GMC account and keep track of all that stuff. And then you're going to have Google Assistant, Google Play Store. With the camera button here, that's going to pop up a couple different camera views. So on the left here, you're going to have your 360 top-down view, which is really nice for seeing kind of all around the car. And on the right, you can change that to specific things. So right now it's set to the forward top-down camera. If you tap this button, it'll set it to the rear top-down camera. And then on this side here, if you tap that, that'll show a rear view camera. And then this one shows the front view. And then over here on the very right, this one is going to show looking forward from either side of the car, driver and passenger, and then also looking backward on either side of the car from driver and passenger. And that's really handy because, like, for instance, on this one, if you're off-roading, you see this rock here, that allows you to be able to see where the rock is positioned according to your wheel. And so if you're on some sort of a rugged trail and you need to keep track of where you are so you don't, run your wheel against this, it's really handy to have that camera view. And then you're also going to have your guidance here. So this shows the little grid and shows you, basically your distance from the objects, and also if you're turning your wheel, it will also curve to show you which direction you're heading. And then if you press, I believe it is, it was this one here. So that is the forward camera, which again, it shows you, these little indicators for how close you are to everything. And if you go into the top-down one, it gives you these little wheel lines, show you where your wheels are heading, which again, for off-roading, that's kind of neat because then you can kind of position yourself based on these so that you make sure you're lined up properly for a trail. And then going back here, we're going to have some other functions. You've got your settings menu where you can get into a lot of different stuff. And so like vehicle, there's gonna be all kinds of different settings. For audio settings, you can set up your teen driver thing. So basically there's different restrictions you can put on here to make sure that, if you have a teenage driver, they're not speeding and they're driving appropriately. You've got your rear seat reminder. That way, if you have something in the back seat, you won't forget it. Hopefully you're not forgetting your children in the back of your car, but they do have a reminder, unfortunately, for that. I say unfortunately because people should not be leaving their kids in the back of their car. You also have a buckle to drive thing here. You can turn that on. It lets you know that you need to buckle up before you start driving. And there's quite a few other things in here. You can get into lighting settings, which changes how long the exit lighting stays on for. So a bunch of different functions in there. And that was just the vehicle menu. There's all kinds of different stuff. If you hit display here, you can turn on like your driver display. You can turn on or off the turn-by-turn graphics, the traffic sign recognition. So yeah, lots of settings that can be changed and customized to exactly what you want. All right, now if you go into the climate menu, you can see here you've got your fan speed adjustment on the top with these little buttons. This here changes where the air comes out through the vents, and you can, if you need all the air, turn them all on. On the left-hand side and the right-hand side, you're gonna have your temperature, and so you can turn that up or down. You can also press and hold on the little slider bar and change it that way as well. Interestingly enough, you can't do that with the fan speed. There is no slider, you just have to use the buttons. Down here, you can turn the climate on and off. You have your auto setting. If you tap that, it automatically sets it to what it thinks is the best. Sync, that one there, like if your passenger, you know how the air temperature set to a different setting and you want everything to be the same as what you have again, you just press sync and then that syncs it all together. And then you have your AC on and off button as well as your recirculate button. You also have hard controls down here for the climate system too, so you can turn it on and off. You've got your auto, you have your temperature up and down, which does have its own little display. Interestingly enough, you have a physical button that you can move to change it, or you can also change your settings by tapping on this little screen down here. So not only can you turn it off using this switch, you can also just reach just slightly up and turn it on and off as well. And then if that's not close enough to the steering wheel, you can also turn it on and off from here. So quite a bit of redundancy here, but it gives everybody their own way to do it. Here you've got your, oops, accidentally tapped the auto button. Let's try this again. Here you've got your heated seats and cooled seats. You tap that, you can change through the levels of heated and cooled seats. This one here pops up a sub menu where you can again choose your position of where you want the air to come out. The sync button there. You've got your fan speed up and down, and it's got a little display that actually shows the fan speed, which is always a neat little touch. And then passenger side, you have the same controls for your heated and cooled seats. You've also got your AC button down here and recirculate button over here as well. And then you've got your defroster and your rear defroster. And then if we go back, it does have a Wi-Fi hotspot. You've got your audio area where you can change AM, FM, Bluetooth, Sirius XM, all those different things. You can go in there and cycle through different stations. There's also, if you have a specific channel that you listen to, you can type it in and go directly to that. And then you've got Google Maps built in. It is a very nice responsive system, very smooth and easy to use. Up here you can just do a search for a location, and so for instance, take me to Disneyland.
Okay, Disneyland Park. Here we go.
There we go, and then we say we want to go to Disneyland Park. Hit start.
Disneyland Park may be closed.
Oh, there we go, confirm. All right, and I'm going to Disneyland.
Northeast Lafayette Avenue.
Now, if you want to cancel it, down here you can hit that button to cancel it. You can also press this one here, which gives you different route options. This one here will pop up a search menu so that you can find gas stations along the way, or restaurants, whatever you're needing on your trip. And then there's also stuff like you can go into your settings and show traffic. the guidance audio, route options, a bunch of different settings you can change there. You can also change how the map is oriented. So perspective is going to be what direction you're facing. You can have it always be north up. And then this is an overview where it shows, you know, your entire trip, as well as anything going on like construction along the way, things like that. Now we're going to go ahead and cancel this. Turns out I'm not going to Disneyland. If we go back to the home screen, you do have a menu specifically for your phone. I don't have mine connected, but that's where you can go in to make calls and set up different phone functions. And then controls here is going to be things like your interior dome lights. So you would press that button and the dome lights come on. It's also going to have functions like your power window lockout, your camera. You can go straight into the camera from there. Traction control. You've got automatic high beams. You can turn those on. That way your high beams automatically come on when it deems it's acceptable. This is how you turn on your fog lights, your parking assist, as well as your hill descent control. And then if you hit see more controls, there's still more stuff that you can do. Doors and windows, you can change the power window lockout on and off here as well. And then your power rear gate height, you can set it to just, it's completely off. Max opening, or you can set it custom where you can decide how much it opens. That way, in case you're in like a low parking garage, or if your garage isn't very tall, you don't have it open up all the way and potentially hit something. So you can kind of set a maximum height for it. And then in the lights area, it's going to be your dome lights, fog lights, headlights, all of that stuff. Drive and park is going to have traction control, hill descent control, lane assist. And each of these menus, they have a little arrow. And so like hill descent control, if you're not 100% sure what it does, you can press this arrow and it pops up a description where it tells you that it maintains a speed between 1 and 19 miles an hour down steep hills, helps make for a slower, more controlled descent, best used while off-roading. And so it gives you descriptions on everything, so you know exactly what everything does, which is always nice. And then of course, if you have like a remote for your garage door, you can set that up in there too, so that you can control it right from the car. And then if we move down here, you've got some more controls. So this one is just a quick control, or a quick button that goes to your controls and safety menu. And then next to it here, this one goes to your lighting. So for the headlights, you just press this and you can then turn them on auto, or just turn on like your running lights, or turn the lights all the way on. And then this one here is your lane keep assist. So that will, if you turn that on, that's going to help keep the car in the lane, so it doesn't, you know, veer over the line. It'll apply light steering light steering input to try to keep you in your lane. And then you can turn that back off if you'd like. And then over here you have a settings button, which takes you to that main settings screen where you can change all kinds of different functions. So, you know, very functional screen. Over on the side, did want to point out there's a power button here. And so that's for muting your audio volume, or if you press and hold it, it'll turn the display completely off and just show the time and the date. And then you can just double tap the screen and it wakes right back up. And as far as your volume control goes, you have this dial here kind of built into the screen, and you just turn it left and right, and it's got a little bar that goes around to show you where your volume is. Another neat feature with this center screen is up here you have these sort of shortcut buttons. And so if you wanted to move, say, your camera functions up to where they're more easily locatable, you just move it up here and you can replace that. You can have up to 4 hotkeys up here. And so you can just go straight into your camera settings. This one will go straight into the maps, and so on. And so you can do that with any of these. You can move your vehicle status up here, whatever you want up there, whatever makes sense for you. So it's kind of a nice little customization feature. All right, now moving up to the rearview mirror, you can see right now it's just a normal rearview mirror. You can see the back of the car there, the back seats. But this one is equipped with the rear camera mirror. And so if you pull this little lever down, it switches to an actual camera. And then you have some buttons here that change some of the functions. So if you tap this button on the left, that'll go to a contrast menu where you can brighten or darken the view. Press it again, that's going to enable you to zoom in or zoom out. And if you press it again, that's going to allow you to change the angle of the camera. So you can kind of move it up or down depending on where you want it positioned. Really nice little setup. And then if you just flick this back, it goes back to a standard mirror. Moving up from there, you've got your OnStar controls, as well as like your hazard switch. It's no longer just kind of on the dash like most cars. They got it mounted up here. And then you've got your dome lights, as well as, if the dome lights here, you can also just manually turn them on by pressing these little buttons in. And then you've got your sunroof controls. So if you just want to open the sunshade, you press the middle button and the sunshade just slides right on back. And then you decide that you want, maybe you just want the sunroof just kind of tilted. You press the button on the right and just sort of lifts it up to allow a little bit of fresh air in. You can close it back up. And then of course the one on the left here is to completely open the sunroof. You press that there and it automatically retracts back. And then if you press it again, it'll actually go back even further still. So if you really want a lot of air to get in, you know, to the back seats and everywhere, you just kind of press it twice and then you get lots and lots of fresh air. And then if you just pull down on the switch, that completely and automatically closes the sunroof back up. And then on the sunshade, same thing, pull down on it and blocks out all of the sun. You've also got a sunglasses storage area here. And then as far as the mirrors go, you do have a little vanity with lights. Both passenger and driver have them. And of course you've got your glove box, pop that open there. Pretty decent sized glove box to fit your paperwork and whatnot. And you can see on the dash, they carried over that kind of seat material. So you've got, you know, sort of this, this leather here, and then you've got this rubberized material on the top, and then you've also got the same stitching as the seats, and then you can see across the top you've got stitching along there as well. And then the steering wheel too also has that contrast stitching. Moving into the center console here, you're going to have a little storage tray, and then in that area you're going to have a USB-A and USB-C plug for charging your devices. And then you've also got your cup holders. And then moving in the middle here, you've got your wireless charging pad there, and you have a center storage bin, nice and deep, goes way down there. You also have a removable tray if you need a little bit more room as well. And then located underneath the storage area, you also have this big cubby where you could fit, you know, a purse or a bag or something. You've got a lot of room there, and you can see it passes all the way through to the passenger side. Now, as far as the back seat goes, there's actually quite a good amount of room back here. I have the seat set where I would normally position it for driving, and there's a ton of legroom. I'm not a very tall guy. I'm pretty average, 5'10", but still lots and lots of legroom, pretty good amount of headroom. So yeah, not a bad place to sit if you're an adult. And for kids, there's going to be plenty of room to be able to put your car seats in. And the back seats of the Terrain are also the same material as the front, so you've got kind of this rubberized material, that contrast stitching, the cloth, and then these sort of perforated leather centers. In the back, you do have a couple of amenities. This one is equipped with the heated seats, so you've got these buttons here where you can turn them on and adjust just how heated you want them to be. And then you do also have climate vents down here, which is always nice to have as a backseat passenger, that way you can get a little bit of air. And then located further below that, you've got a couple of USB-C ports for charging your devices. On the AT4 edition, you do also get these nice cloth floor mats with contrast piping around the edge. And that is also carried over into the back of the Terrain. All right, so moving on to the storage area, this vehicle is equipped with GM's AutoSense liftgate. And so effectively, what it does is if you have the key fob in your pocket or in your hand, and you got like this, like maybe a bunch of groceries or something, right? And it's hard to get to the handle to open it. You just walk up, and as long as you're within a range of about 3 feet behind it, it'll sense the key fob and it'll automatically open the lift gate. That way you don't have to try to fumble around and figure out how to open it when your hands are full. Oh. That's so heavy. All right, now as far as storage goes, you do get a pretty good amount of space in this. Behind the rear seats in just the back area, you get about 30 cubic feet of room. And if you fold the seats all the way down, that then gets up to 64 cubic feet of space. Now, on the very back of the Terrain, there's really not much in the way of amenities. There's no 12-volt plug-ins, there's no USB A or C ports at all. Pretty basic. You do get a couple of features back here, like these hooks so that you can secure stuff better. On the back of the seat, you do have the tethers for if you have a car seat, but those can also double as another place to potentially secure stuff too. There is nice bright LED lighting on either side. With the AT4 being the off-road focused trim, you do get this rubber liner in the storage area. Underneath it is still the regular carpeted one. And if you lift that up, that reveals a little storage cubby where you can put some more stuff, decently large. And then underneath that still is where you're gonna find your spare tire. And it's not a full-size spare, but at least you get a spare. And after further investigation, I lied about there not being a 12-volt plug-in. It's hiding right behind this little square. So you do actually have 12-volt power in the back of the Terrain. And for closing the tailgate, you can either just grab right here and pull it down, or it does have a power tailgate, so you can just press the button. And does it all on its own. All right, so driving the GMC Terrain, how does it drive? Well, it's not bad. It's a pretty comfortable car to be in. You know, the 4-cylinder motor is not super powerful, but for in town, if you're trying to get out into traffic, you know, it's pretty reasonable. Of course, highway merging with that 0 to 60 being, you know, 8.5 seconds. You know, you got to plan it out a little bit. You can't just jump into a little gap and expect to get going and not be an issue. But yeah, as far as driving goes, you know, it's fairly quiet in here. It's definitely not the quietest place to be. It's got the chunkier all-terrain tires, and so of course those make a little bit more road noise inside the car. Steering feels decently precise. You know, it's got a little bit of vagueness, but it's not anything that's, you know, you're really gonna not know what you're doing. Now, as far as visibility goes, it's not bad. You know, most of these new cars, because they have to be so safe and they've got airbags everywhere, you know, the pillars are larger than they used to be in the past. And so obviously that's going to limit some of your visibility, but it's really not too bad in here overall. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get on it here. Yeah. Definitely not the quickest thing in the world. You know, if you're jumping onto a highway that's got a 55 mile an hour or higher speed limit, definitely it needs to be premeditated. You need to make sure you've got a little bit of room. But it's not the slowest thing I've driven. Overall though, it's a nice comfortable car. It's not a bad place to be in. The ride is, you know, fairly soft. I think these chunkier off-road tires give it a little bit more cushion and make it ride a little bit softer. Overall, it's a nice comfortable car. It's not a bad place to be in. The ride is, you know, fairly soft. I think these chunkier off-road tires give it a little bit more cushion and make it ride a little bit softer. Overall, it's a nice comfortable car. It's not a bad place to be in. The ride is, you know, fairly soft. I think these chunkier off-road tires give it a little bit more cushion and make it ride a little bit softer. Right now I've got the auto hold on, so I'm sitting at a light, my foot's off the brake, and it's just sitting here doing its thing. I don't even have to worry about holding the brake. As far as amenities and everything go, I'm not really going to get too in depth on, you know, like what all this has that the other guys don't and vice versa. You know, the main thing is just kind of showing you all of the features and then just sort of letting you decide from there, you know, does this have everything that you need or that you want? And you know, it's got most of the things most people need. It's got a lot of the safety stuff. There's just a ton of information. It's got a really good built-in map. You know, and if you don't want to use the Google Maps, there's also Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and so you can, you know, you can hook it up to that and do your own thing with those. But you know, it's I think got everything basically that you need, and more than a lot of people honestly need. All right, so there was a comprehensive look at the 2026 GMC Terrain AT4. If you're in the market for a compact off-roady SUV, this is a pretty good way that you could spend your money. It's got a lot of nice amenities inside, a lot of driver assistance features. It's nice and comfortable. Yeah, it's not the fastest thing, but really who cares? You're not looking for that. You know, it gets okay gas mileage for what it is. Are there better options for gas mileage? Yes, you know, like I said, the CR-V Trail Sport with the hybrid system is getting better gas mileage, but overall, this is a really nice little vehicle. I personally really like the styling of it. You know, they made it look more aggressive and brawny and off-roady, you know, to tie it in with the rest of the GMC, you know, pickup line. And so I think it's a reasonably attractive vehicle. I'd love to get it off-road. That's not going to happen, of course. I am borrowing this from Lum's GMC, but I think it's a fairly capable and competent compact SUV. I thank you for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.